Okay, once upon a time, a state senator stood up in the Congress and made a speech. I'm going to read a little bit to you. Mr. President, I would like to speak briefly and simply about a serious national condition. It is a national feeling of fear and frustration that could result in national suicide and the end of everything that we Americans hold dear. I speak as briefly as possible because too much harm has already been done with irresponsible words of bitterness and selfish political opportunism. I speak as simply as possible because the issue is too great to be obscured by eloquence. I speak simply and briefly in the hope that my words will be taken to heart. Mr. President, I speak as a Republican, I speak as a woman, I speak as a United States Senator, I speak as an American. The United States Senate has long enjoyed worldwide respect as the greatest deliberative body in the world. But recently, that deliberative character has too often been debased to the level of a forum of hate and character assassination, sheltered by the shield of congressional immunity. It is ironic that we senators can debate in the Senate, directly or indirectly, by any form of words, impute to any American who is not a senator any conduct or motive unworthy or unbecoming American, and without that non-senator American having any legal redress against us. Yet if we say the same thing in the Senate about our colleagues, we can be stopped on the grounds of being out of order. It is strange that we can verbally attack anyone else without restraint and with full protection, yet we hold ourselves above the same type of criticism here on the Senate floor. Surely the United States Senate is big enough to take self-criticism and self-appraisal. Surely we should be able to take the same kind of character attacks that we dish out to outsiders. I think that it is high time for the United States Senate and its members to do some real soul searching and to weigh our conscience as to the manner in which we are performing our duty to the people of America and the manner in which we are using or abusing our individual powers and privileges. I think that it is high time we remember that we have sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution. I think that it is high time that we remember that the Constitution, as amended, speaks not only of the freedom of speech, but also of trial by jury instead of trial by accusation. Whether it be a criminal prosecution in court or a character prosecution in the Senate, there is little practical distinction where the life of a person has been ruined. Do you think that's a fair assessment of what's going on right now? I'm willing to bet that 2,100 years ago, that if a Roman senator stood up in the forum and said the same thing, that everybody and that all the senators would have understood it. Those words were written 71 years ago by then Senator Margaret Chase Smith, senator from the great state of Maine, because she recognized that we're living in a world where thinking only of ourselves and not putting others' needs ahead of our own will lead to great suffering now and in the future. So how do we reverse the trend of thinking only of ourselves? By teaching children the joy of helping others. Now listen to what I said. Teaching children the joy of helping others. We all recognize the good feeling we get from helping others, and most children seem to have this instinctively. We need to encourage this so that as they get older, this joy of helping others becomes something to look forward to, and the world becomes just a little bit better because of it. And there's a physical basis for this good feeling. The act of giving, whether material things or giving of our time and effort, makes us feel good. This simple fact is backed up by decades of research. When we give to others, a part of our brain known as the pleasure circuit is activated. Chemicals such as dopamine and endorphins are released. These chemicals cause that warm feeling associated with happiness. So the joy of helping others is physical, but it's also mental. We've all felt the joy of helping others, and it's a survival trait. But I'm not going to go into that right now. But think about how many people give time and effort when there's a natural disaster. There's a Chinese proverb that goes, if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone. Now I'm going to tell you about a man who learned the joy of helping others and he lived it. His name is George Walter Hinckley, and he was born in 1853. As a child, George Walter Hinckley, GW, to anyone who ever met him, witnessed another boy's arrest for reaching into a working man's dinner pail. GW asked himself why no one had noticed that the young boy had been without food for 3 consecutive days. He was not a criminal, he was simply hungry. At that point, GW vowed to become an aid to young boys in similar plight. He would build a house or houses and provide homes for those in need. In the 1860s, GW was a student at Guilford Institute in his hometown of Guilford, Connecticut. It was easy to spot any new students there, and GW noticed a thin, somewhat aggressive young man with tousled hair. From head to toe, none of his clothes matched. After befriending the young man, GW discovered him to be an orphan assigned to work at a nearby farm. The young man, Ben Mason, was seeking refuge on the grounds of the school after finding that the farm to be a very unpleasant place where he was treated poorly. GW told Ben that he didn't have to go back to the farm. Instead, he could stay at his house with his family. Although his parents struggled financially, they took in Ben willingly, and the two of them became lifelong friends. In 1889, GW bought a 125-acre farm in Fairfield, Maine, from the grandparents of Margaret Chase Smith. And here he started the Goodwill Home Association because he wanted to start a school, home, farm for needy boys. And of course, it's going to be a farm. We are talking about rural Maine after all. And in 1897, he recognized that girls could be needy too. And Smith Cottage, a residence for girls, opened that year. GW's vision for the Goodwill facility followed the pattern of many institutions at that time. The farm would provide much of the food needed to care for the children and the live-in staff and provide a source of education and employment for the children. In addition, like many other institutions of the time, Goodwill intended to provide a home-like atmosphere with small living units made up of children of various ages and activities that replicated family and community life. GW died in 1950, but 130 years after starting the school, home, farm, Goodwill-Hinckley is still providing living and educational opportunities for kids who need a helping hand. Today, Goodwill-Hinckley offers clinical and educational services to students, kindergarten through 12th grade, who experience significant social, emotional, and behavioral challenges. It provides youth-centered counseling, academic program, life skills, and positive youth development activities. And the Maine Academy of Natural Sciences is the first public charter high school in Maine. They introduce students to careers in farming, forestry, and other fields. And many other services are provided by Goodwill-Hinckley. In addition, the historic core of the campus in Fairfield, Maine, some 525 acres that include all of the buildings built between 1889 and 1930, was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1987. Now, I've met some of the students who were at Goodwill-Hinckley, and they're great kids. And all because one person learned about the joy of helping others when he was a child and passed that along to others during his lifetime. See, this is what happens when you teach kids the joy of helping others. If you do this, then you can sit back and watch as they change the world a little bit at a time. Now, you may be wondering how I know about this place. Well, for one, I'm kind of proud of the fact that I was born in the great state of Maine. Kind of like an original maniac. For another, through no fault of their own, my mother, her sister, and a couple of her brothers, I think, ended up at Goodwill-Hinckley. They still talk at GW because they actually knew him. My father also went to Goodwill-Hinckley. My mother met my father, they got married, and the rest is, as they say, history.